Welcome everyone into a new episode of the Transform Recruiting Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Owens, and I am excited to bring you today's guest. Excited might be an understatement because if you're anywhere in the recruiting industry and you're somewhere close to LinkedIn, you've likely heard of Lauren Jones. So Lauren, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tickled pink to be here. Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
come
you
on.
so much, Brad.
How many followers are you up to now just on LinkedIn alone?
Oh my goodness. I try not to make it about followership, but I think we've surpassed 40K. I know that I did a big announcement saying thank you to the 40K. So
unbelievable.
But yeah, trying to be
I love it.
Meaningful.
So tell me where all of this influence and information in your head comes from. Like, what's your background? What have you been doing?
Oh my gosh. I grew up in staffing, literally, like fresh out of school. My Mima, it was my grandmother. It was a good Southern woman. She raised me. And I was fresh out of school. I was a professional musician, right? So during the nighttime, I'm musicianing and doing all of those things. And I was like, that's probably not going to cut it from an income perspective. So my Mima said, well, I was a Kelly girl. Why don't you be a Kelly girl? And so I signed up for Kelly services, and kind of the rest is history. You know, the industry sucked me in, and I was hooked right away. I loved the idea of learning something new every day. So I have a little bit of, ADD, just, I mean, I want to be busy. I want to be doing something. I want to be learning something. And I don't think that there's a day in this industry where I haven't been gifted some lesson that, can be impactful in your life. And I mean, where else can you have one sales day and you are helping distribute wine, helping with oncology machinery, helping build a Tesla, and then helping distribute an iPhone. And that's just a regular sales day. I mean, you get to be a part of all of those little things, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience when I started because my boss at that point had said, you're going to get a mini MBA in like 6 months. Like, what are you talking about? And then I realized how much you have to know about all these industries and the people that you're recruiting. And if you're all over the place in some small niche, you get to know a lot about all of these different companies. So I'm with you. I was hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked instantly. I loved the idea of being able to make an impact in my husband has always said, I am a little bit envious that you help other people help their families. It's not philanthropic. We're a for-profit industry, but there's something really meaningful about being able to, help someone pivot in their career or do a career change altogether. Those are the most exciting challenges for me, although I'm not a recruiter anymore. And that's where, I started in the industry, from the bottom up, worked my way all the way up. And my career took a pivot about a decade ago when I built my first tech stack for a large enterprise organization. And from there, I was absolutely hooked. The idea that I could leverage technology to do more with less, or the idea that I could leverage technology to I'm an empath. And so keeping my team super connected and, everything really close and to leverage technology to do that, that's where I was hooked again.
What a good space to be hooked when it comes to tech, because I know that you're going to feel the same way because I've already read some of the things you've been putting out there. But right now, I feel like it's a fantastic time to be any tech that's around this recruiting or talent industry space, because everyone's starting to get hit with more and more of these pain points of, oh my gosh, onboarding, gosh, it takes freaking forever, or filling out all this paperwork, man, it takes freaking forever. I can order a car from my phone, but I can't find a job and sign up for what I need and get all my background check stuff done remotely. Like, it's just a nightmare right now. So not to lead you down any path, but I'm curious to get your perspective on the industry as a whole, looking at these macro things that are happening to the industry. What are you seeing?
I I see really confused buyers, and that was the whole impetus behind opening my firm. Is 2019 we had just over $5 billion in VC funding going towards HR tech. We've surpassed $17 billion, in that short span of time. And so when you think about the barrage of technology coming at business owners, they're just business owners. They simply want to grow their agencies. They simply want to create meaningful experiences for the candidates and clients with that they touch, and to be confused by all of this information out there. And there's, quote unquote, fake news, out there as it pertains to technology. There's good and bad tech. There's tech that works well together, tech that doesn't. And so as a business owner, I saw as a consumer 3 areas of opportunity. And that was part of why I opened my firm. Is as a consumer, I found it time consuming and frustrating and not fulfilling, going through this buying process. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to shepherd clients through this. And that's exactly what we do. Is we help businesses and help owners. We shepherd them through this process, and we help them understand from a true requirements perspective, as opposed to what shiny widget is out there. What do I think I need? What is everybody else getting? Really determining what the business needs, and then making an educated buying decision from there. And so, starting in 2020, we did almost a demo a day. We continue to do a wild number of demos to stay on top of the ever-changing HR tech market and staffing and recruiting tech market. I wish they'd make them one and the same, but that's okay. We'll get past that. It was, I think, the market has shifted and changed, and that so much tech is coming in. There's going to continue to be consolidation. So we're going to continue to see, big firms, not just from an agency perspective, but from a software perspective. We're going to continue to see consolidation on the agency side and on the software side. I think we're going to be left with like some primary players, Salesforce being one of them, that are going to come out of the other side with some major market share. And I think it's going to be through a combination of organic and consumed growth or acquired growth.
This could be a fun thought process then. So let's take your primary potential buyer. So let's think of a couple different demographics here. How big is this firm? You could do monetarily or butts and seats, like your choice.
Oh, we are 4 strong. I started out a solopreneur. So I was sitting here with a headset on, my first year, just banging it out. My first year, I replaced my corporate income, signed my first $1 million deal, and signed my first partnership. Our second year, we doubled revenue, we doubled revenue. I started adding team members. As we come into our third year, which will be March, we're now going to be 4 members strong, looking at now we've been able to really get our pillars of strength down, which are build, change, adopt. We'll help you build your tech stack intelligently. We'll help you with business process change management, so you don't take your old system and jam it into your new system and try and make it like your old system. And then we'll help you with, what I believe is the Achilles heel of all of this, and that is training and adoption. Because there is hundreds of millions upon millions of dollars being spent on this, and yet very little usage. And so,
agreed.
Therein lies the rub.
Yeah, you're interfacing with all these different organizations then. So let's think about your ideal buyer. When you picture them, when you picture their firm, what's their size?
Oh my goodness. So I get that question all the time. And our ideal buyer is someone that has a technology problem, regardless of their size, and doesn't know how to solve for that. And so we've helped startups, we've helped mid-sized firms. It's probably where we have the majority of our customers, probably sit in that $20 million to $100 million, $125 million window. That's probably the majority of our 22 customers that we have right now.
Makes sense. The majority of the market. So makes sense.
Yeah. And then, we have some ancillary enterprise, and then we have, I love a good startup. The energy, it's the energy is wild. The desire to be amazing is awesome. And so, we love helping the staffing startup.
Love that. So there are kind of two main questions that these buyers are likely going to be coming up with. They're going to hit some sort of roadblock. They're going to hit some sort of pain point. But when you come in, what are you seeing as the answers to the two questions of why should they change and why now?
I think, I was really surprised. I did a masterclass this fall, and we went through what I believe is sort of the foundation of the whole thing, which is your mission, your vision, and your values. And you would be floored as to how many organizations are coming to the table not having materialized any of that, not having put any thought or energy behind your mission, your vision, and your values. Why that's so important is because it really tells us how you want each of these end users, what you want their experience to be like. And that therein helps influence, what technology we're going to purchase. And so the agencies that aren't doing the work of that foundational type of thing are at a disadvantage. So, when we're coming in, we really want to understand who you are and what you want the world to experience when they engage with your brand, because that will influence technology, believe it or not. And so we do a 4-part discovery. We want to understand every sort of nuance. And while we won't understand every single nuance, we really want to holistically understand how you want to influence the candidate experience and the client experience. And we want to know what's happening in your front office and your back office. And then we want to understand where you want to go. Where do you envision yourself being? And then we simply bridge the gap. And that whether that's through, and so we're a little bit different in that I believe that the answer isn't, or we believe the answer isn't always technology. Sometimes you have a really garbage process. We just have to rethink what that might be. And, throwing automation on top of an already crappy process is only going to make it crappier faster. So, there's this misperception, on the buying side. And I think that's just because everything's coming at them that, if I buy this, it's going to fix my candidate problem. Well, it may make your candidate problem worse. We really have to determine if we have good processes. And so that's really where we start, is understanding who you want to be, where you want to go, and then what's happening today and what piece of that you want to make better, so that we can come in and, essentially do a gap analysis and determine process or technology.
Which is perfect. And I can guarantee that you're finding a whole lot of process things where you're going, what?
You did. I'm sorry. What? Yes, we get a lot of that. There's a lot of incredulity in our initial calls. Yes, of course.
There's so many. I mean, like you, in this position, it's amazing that I get to see behind the curtain of so many different organizations that are doing this. And the amount of times that I'm like, there's just a spreadsheet at the end of that. Like, right. Everything is a spreadsheet. Like, come on.
Yes. Well, exactly. It's mystifying to me that, you have these large agencies that are run with these, big giant spreadsheets, and nothing else. If there was one tool I could remove from everybody, it would be Excel. Just take it away.
Ditto. I would love that. Because let's actually, maybe, since there's a lot of people that might be listening that are like, oh crap, I'm using one of those Excel sheets. Let's think about the why. In my opinion, and I'll give you time to think about it. In my opinion, I feel like you have all of this data. We're not talking contact info. We're not talking salary info, whatever it might be. We're talking transaction data. We're talking forecast data. We're talking the ability to report on what your pipeline actually is and what it could be based on all the past information that you've got in your system. That is why I feel like it's super important for these firms that are dealing with these multiple transactions a day, an hour, potentially, to get that all in one system that can start doing something with that. You can start making predictions. We have all this amazing technology that can do something with that. It's not just a system of record. So what do you think?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think, big data, here's the good news is I think my co-host Rob just put out a LinkedIn post, talking about this desire for more reporting, which means that agencies are looking at data now. That's fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Before they maybe weren't looking at it, or were making, really good, intelligent hypotheses and educated guess. And so we're seeing this desire for more reporting. That's a great first step. People want the data. Now it's, what do you do with it? And that's, being able to normalize the data in a way that's meaningful for each of your end users. And therein lies the hill that we have to climb. Yes. And so being able to normalize data for each person that's consuming it, that's why Excel spreadsheets don't work. And that's why you have so many of them, because each end user is creating it from their vantage point. Mm-hmm. And so having meaningful technology that will, again, allow you to normalize that for each end user is where the difference will be made. And that's where we'll be more proactive. I look at functionalities. We're super users in, Aviante, Loxo, JobDiva, Bullhorn, TempWorks. I mean, we like we are truly agnostic. Salesforce. And we want to be able to help them understand that your one source of truth is literally what you put in, and then how you get it out of there. And I love seeing these light bulb moments where people are like, okay, so the data that I put in right here is what's going to influence this report and how I look at it. And that's why what you're saying, getting everybody in one system instead of, my sort of tagline is, there is no transformation without integration. And the reason that I'm so passionate about that is, when you have everything coming into one central nervous system, you have the opportunity to then take all of that data from every end user's vantage point and do something that's more proactive. Because up until this point in our industry, we are very reactive, always have been. So I'm hoping that, these really cool analytics tools, the barrage of them that we have coming to the market, are going to allow us. And I think, Cube 19's doing it. Insight Squared did it. The Data Cloud and Salesforce does it. I mean, there's so much cool data to be able to use, but there's so much data that you can misuse. So it's understanding the difference.
No, it's really true. And the big start to my whole, this industry could do a lot better, was really getting a sense of that application black box where you apply into something and you hear absolutely nothing. I used to hear that constantly. And this was back, early 2000s, really early, when I started thinking about this. And I went, okay, wait, so I, as a candidate, I want to see this data. But I, as a recruiter, I don't really care about the individual. I care about the macro, like, where's everything? Where should I be focusing? Where should I put my time? As a leader, I care about where all my people are putting their time. As a client, I'm going to care about how many are in the pipeline. Who do you have next? How many can I see next week? I completely agree that there's a lot of people that need a lot of different things, but it all comes from the same source of data. It's just how it's interpreted for that different person. So correct. I agree with you. There comes this problem, though, next on people's mind. They go, okay, great. I need everything in this one system. I've got people that have been working this one particular way for years. But you mentioned earlier on in our discussion that change management is likely one of the big things that you have to go through. What's kind of that first step to get everyone on board to say, this is where we're going to be working from?
I have this template for our change management, and it all starts with a town hall. And, I have businesses that are like, I've already had a town hall. We already asked them. We already did this thing. And I'm like, no, let's have a true town hall where we're really, really listening to people. And we're asking one simple question from everybody's vantage point. What's in your way? That's it. That's our town hall question. What's in your way? And then we're going to take all of that information, even if you've already chosen what technology you're going to buy. I would just encourage you to have this town hall as an exercise. Hearts and minds. If people feel like they're part of the solution, Psychology 101 says, I'm going to be more excited about it because it's my idea. Mm-hmm. And so have the town hall. Yes, it may be time consuming. Yes, it may take them out of revenue generating activity for an hour, but you're going to be okay. And you'll be much better off if you have the attitude adjustment in the beginning in the going the positive way, meaning I'm excited about this because I got to vocalize or say my concerns, and then the company did something on my behalf. Whether or not that end user agrees with what the technology is, they're going to be excited that you're doing something about what they said. And so every change management exercise starts with this town hall discussion. And then we like the lead time of 8 weeks. It gives us 4 weeks. I give Matt credit for this all the time. Matt Fisher is the CTO from Bullhorn, and he said at Gigi 2 years ago, he said, digital marketing as a core competency will be the difference maker for businesses. And I'll take that one step further and say digital marketing as a core competency internally and externally. Because if you do it really well internally, remembering that your recruiters and your salespeople and your managers are consumers and consume information the way that they do externally, you're going to be 10 steps ahead of the next guy who's just pumping out information saying this is when it's changing, log in, here's your new logins, and doing all the ivory tower stuff. You're engaging them. You're collectively saying, we heard you and we want to do something about it. And we have 8 weeks to campaign and get them excited about what's coming. And then we have 4 weeks to train your change champions or your SMEs or whatever you want to call them. And then a fun go live where we have, hooting and hollering and excitement about all of the new things to come. And there's a lot to be said for internal marketing combined with change management.
Yeah. I'm glad that you said the internal marketing piece as well as external, because I agree with you. I have seen 2 or 3 different large scale changes that unfortunately were seen as more of a lift and replace, which, maybe not just taking your problems from one system and moving them to another doesn't really solve your problem. And I've seen a lot of those as we'll just take the process as we have it, and then we'll switch it once we get in there. But you're losing the fundamental value of this new piece of whatever technology that you're getting into if you approach it that way. So yeah, I agree with you. And it sometimes does take a external perspective. It takes if you don't mind, I might have a suggestion to offer here. So those that are able to go into this process, what's that famous thing, that with the beginner's mind, that's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice to those listening. Go into this with a beginner's mind. There's a lot that has changed. To your point at the very beginning of this conversation, it's changing incredibly quickly. There are people that can help.
Yeah, I have a ton of empathy for our staffing agency business owners. I really do. And I think that's why we're so passionate about helping them, is because, I without additional resources, I don't know that if I'm coming in as just a business owner, I probably have a different type of degree. I probably have a different type of experience, and building an overarching tech stack probably isn't among the things that, I count as my skill set, amongst my skill set. So calling in the experts, and this is what we coach smaller agencies on, is knowing what you can outsource and knowing what you can't. This is one of those things that you can't.
Yep. Let's set this passion free then. If people want more information, they like what they hear, they want to come find you, where should they go?
Go to LinkedIn, of course. I am the GOAT leader on LinkedIn. You see the little goat by my name. That's where it all started, is with my blog, Goat Leadership, and that was kind of first post that went viral was everything I learned in business I learned from goats. Which, for an introvert, it was kind of funny, but so that's you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find us at www.leapconsulting.com or Lauren@leapconsulting.com. But the point is, just find me.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure to point everyone that direction. And thank you so much for taking time out. For those of you listening, if you want to hear some more perspectives on what's going on in the industry, transformrecruiting.com is where you want to go. If you got any questions for me, it's hello@bradowens.com. Thank you so much again to Lauren for coming out and spending just a couple minutes with us. And I hope to see you all on the next episode. We'll see you.
Thanks so much.